Hello YouTube! This is a tag video that I saw and I was not actually tagged in it, but I thought it looked fun, so we're gonna do it. We're gonna be talking about a bunch of firsts, all the firsts, except for the one that probably made you click on this video. We're not talking about that one. What was your first job? My first job was at a TNT fireworks stand selling fireworks. It was amazing. It was only a week and a half long, but you earned enough money in that time, working like 70 hours a week, to pretty much pay for anything you wanted to do that summer. What was your first car? I had a red Plymouth Laser where the paint was all coming off the hood and the driver's side door handle was like a different color entirely, but it was a sports car and I felt really cool in it, even though it was super ugly. But I didn't really notice that at the time. Who was the first person to text you today? Let's find out. Looks like it was Joe, who texted me to let me know that he had landed in LA safely and sent a little heart. Who was your first grade teacher? My first grade teacher was a woman named Miss Slater. It was her first year teaching and she was super nice and super wonderful and she called us her superstars, and we had to have school in a portable that year and she let us turn the entire room into a rainforest. We had like vines down the aisleways and monkeys hanging from the ceiling, and we made like a giant paper mache tree. When did you go on your first ride on an airplane? You know, I was probably in my mom's stomach. I don't know if we're counting that. My mom worked for United Airlines for most of my childhood, and so I did a lot of traveling. I honestly don't know the answer to this question. Who was your first best friend and do you still talk? I guess I would have had to have been the girl who lived across the fence, just my next door neighbor. Her name was Kristina and she was 2 years older than me, and naturally I thought she was so cool. And she's the one who like showed me about rap music. Yeah, probably her. Oh, and do we still talk? We sort of fell out of touch because we don't live anywhere near each other. But I did go to her wedding recently, so I guess that counts. Where was your first sleepover? I don't really know the answer to this question either. Probably, so there was a girl who lived across the street named Stacy, and I was friends with her even though she was like 4 years older than me or something. And so after a while she got tired of hanging out with this little kid, and so she just sort of pawned me off on her little brother. Him and I were really good friends and we used to stay the night at each other's houses before it was weird for boys and girls to have sleepovers. So when we were like 7, 8, we used to spend the night at each other's houses. He might have been the first person that I ever did that with. Who was the first person you talked to today? Justin came in my room this morning and tried to convince me to blow off all of my plans to watch anime with him all day, which I obviously did not do since I am making this video. Rather than that. Whose wedding were you in for the first time? I was a flower girl in my Uncle Jim's wedding, and it was before I can remember, but I've seen pictures. What was the first thing you did this morning? Usually when I wake up, I groggily reach over and grab my phone. I check to see if my village was rated on Clash of Clans, and then I check to see how stuff's going on Bottle Camp. That's pretty much how I start my day. What was the first concert you ever went to? My first concert, aside from like stuff I went to with my parents that didn't really count, the first concert that I specifically like needed to go to because I was a fan of the musician was Hanson, and I made a sign on a big colorful piece of poster board and I held it up and stuff, and then later I fell asleep at the concert. First broken bone. I have only broken one bone in my life, and that was my big toe. I was playing World of Warcraft and I'd ordered pizza and the pizza was here, but I was in the middle of a dungeon, so when I heard the doorbell I was like, shoot, I can't really leave, but I had to because there was a pizza guy outside, so I ran downstairs, signed for it, ran back upstairs, but like miscalculated where my foot needed to land and like slammed my toe into one of my stairs, and it hurt really bad, but I finished the dungeon and beat the boss and then realized that my toe was broken, and it was the worst. First piercing. These holes, my first holes, I've got 5. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But the first ones I got when I was 6 years old. My mom told me when I turned 6 that I could get my ears pierced whenever, you know, whenever I was ready. So like literally 2 days later when we were at the mall and we were walking by Claire's, I was like, Mom, think I'm ready. So I got my ears pierced. First movie you remember seeing. I wish this was a more vivid memory. I don't entirely know, but I remember it was an animated movie, so it's probably Disney, and I guess Beauty and the Beast came out in 1991, so I would have been about 4 then, so that seems about right for how fuzzy the memory is. When was your first detention? We didn't actually have detention at my school. They usually just gave you a note that you had to take home and show your parents and admit that you were naughty, and then they had to sign it and you had to bring it back. It was just an all-around like humiliating experience. I got a bus ticket one time. I didn't even know you could get bus tickets. I think most kids probably got through most of school not knowing you could get a bus ticket, but one day I threw a water bottle at another kid's head and I got a bus ticket. Who was your first roommate? I have actually never shared a room with anybody in my life. I never stayed in a dorm in college, and I never have had to share a room in any other circumstance. What were the first lessons you ever took? I'm not entirely sure what this question is asking me because the first lessons I took were school, so I'll just go with extracurriculars. The first things that I actively chose to participate in outside of normal classes were my mom put me in Spanish in like kindergarten or something, and very little of it stuck with me, and I eventually went on to take Japanese anyway, so I also did choir, which was early. I remember I had to be at a school at like 6. Who was the first beauty-related person you watched on YouTube? I'm gonna assume from this question that this tag started with beauty gurus. I don't know. I don't really watch a lot of beauty gurus. Probably, honestly, Kaylee Hyde. Kaylee's Closet. That's probably the first beauty channel I ever saw. I don't even think I knew that beauty channels were a thing until Kaylee started doing it. Obviously, I know that there's a bunch more out there now, but I don't really watch them too much. But I should recommend good beauty vloggers down below so I can go check them out. I actually have my own sort of like, I guess, yeah, it's a makeup channel, but it's more like nerdy themed costumey makeup called One Up Makeup. A lot of you guys probably already know about it. But those of you who don't, that's a thing that I do also. You can go check it out up here or whatever. I also do fashion related posts on my blog. If you haven't been to my website, KristinaHorner.com, I do a lot of really cool stuff, a lot like my videos, but in written form over there regularly, 5 days a week. So, you know, I only post 1 video here a week, but you can get updates from me every day on my blog. So yeah, that's all. I'm not going to tag anybody, but if you think this tag sounds fun and you want to do it on your channel, feel free to do it and say I told you to. I don't know why this video is so awkward today. It's so unscripted. I didn't even read the questions first before I started filming it. I just dove in. Yes, I'm going down to San Francisco this weekend for the Night of Writing Dangerously, the NaNoWriMo Write-a-thon Gala to raise money for their organization. I'm super pumped about it. There'll be a video about that sometime in the future. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Wow, remember that time the sun came out and my lighting completely changed over the course of this video, but I didn't know because I was making it? Great.